She met him on the worst day of her life, in a cold hospital hallway that smelled like sanitizer and fear. Her dad had just had a heart attack. She was standing by the vending machine, hands shaking so badly she couldn't even press the right button. Her eyes were red, her phone was full of missed calls, and her whole world felt like it was hanging by a thread. He was sitting nearby on one of those uncomfortable plastic chairs, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like it held all the answers. His little sister had been in an accident. He was the strong one in his family, the one who never cried, never broke, never showed fear. But his fingers were trembling too as he twisted a hospital bracelet around his wrist over and over. For a while, they were just background characters in each other's disaster. Two strangers breathing the same heavy air, silently hoping for miracles. The first time they really crossed paths, it was small. She dropped her coffee. It splashed all over the floor, all over her sneakers, and something inside her just snapped. She whispered, "Of course," like the universe was playing a cruel joke. He stood up, grabbed a stack of napkins and said, "Hold on, I got it." No flirting. No cheesy lines. Just kindness. Real simple kindness on a day when everything hurt. "You okay?" he asked gently. And that was it, the question that broke her. She didn't answer with words at first. Her eyes filled and the tears just started pouring. Instead of panicking or awkwardly backing away, he just sat back down beside her and let her cry. No stay strong. No fake positivity. Just quiet presence. Two strangers sharing a moment that felt strangely safe. The next day she saw him again, still in the same hoodie, still with the same tired eyes. This time she walked over with 2 coffees in her shaking hands. "I owed you one," she said. He smiled for the first time in days. "Then I'm glad you dropped yours yesterday." They started talking, at first just small talk. How long they'd been there. Which doctor their family member had. The weird way time slowed down in hospitals. Then deeper things. How her dad used to make her pancakes in funny shapes when she was a kid. How his little sister always stole his hoodies and took ugly pictures of him when he was asleep. They laughed between the fear. They prayed in their own ways. Before going into any tough meeting with the doctors, one of them would always say, "You got this. I'm right out here." They began to look for each other without realizing it. Every time a nurse opened a door, every time a phone buzzed, every time a doctor walked down the hall, they'd meet each other's eyes as if silently asking, "Is it good news? Please tell me it's good news." Then one night, really late, when most of the lights in the hallway were dim and the world felt quiet, she said softly, "You know, if we'd met any other way, I'd probably just pass by you and never even say hi." He looked at her for a second, then said, "Yeah, but maybe that's why we didn't meet any other way." Eventually, slowly, both of their stories turned. Her dad started getting better. His numbers stabilized, his breathing eased, and one afternoon the doctor finally smiled and said, "He's responding well." She ran out into the hallway and the first person she hugged wasn't a nurse or a relative. It was him. A few days later, his sister's condition improved too. She woke up more, smiled more, started rolling her eyes at his jokes again. The crisis that had glued them to that hallway began to loosen its grip. On the day his family was discharged, he stood in front of her with his backpack slung over one shoulder and said, half joking, half terrified, "So what happens when we're not stuck in this hallway anymore?" She laughed nervously. "I don't know. Maybe we find out if we still show up for each other when life isn't falling apart." "Can I take you out for coffee?" he asked. "Somewhere that doesn't have a vending machine?" Months later, they were sitting together in a cozy little cafe. No hospital wristbands, no panic calls from doctors. Just two people who had seen each other at their absolute weakest, now learning what it meant to be there on good days too. He met her dad, who joked, "So you're the guy from the hallway," and shook his hand with too much emotion in his eyes. She met his sister, who whispered, "Thank you for being there for him when I couldn't." They started building a life together. Slowly, softly. Not perfect, not dramatic, just real. Paying bills, sharing playlists, arguing about what to watch, holding each other on the nights when old fears came back. Because once you've waited for life or death news with someone, even simple things like grocery shopping feel different. You stop taking the small moments for granted. One evening, years later, while they were walking together, he said, "I used to think soulmates were about butterflies, sparks, all that movie stuff. And now?" she asked. He looked at her and replied, "Now I think soulmates are the people who show up in the middle of your storm and never leave." Sometimes strangers don't turn into soulmates through perfect first dates or romantic sunsets. Sometimes it happens under harsh hospital lights, with tear-stained faces and cold coffee. Sometimes it starts with, "Are you okay?" and becomes, "I'm not going anywhere."